Episode 37 of Beyond the Blast Doors is our May the 4th episode, so we want to kick things off with saying May the 4th be with you, even though by the time you're watching or listening to this, the day has passed, but that's okay. I'm David. I'm one of your hosts. Joining with me, David Gilbert and Jesse Buck, and a shorter show for you this weekend just because it has been so busy. Although May the 4th, I celebrated by watching, I watched Rogue One, A New Hope, and Empire. But that was essentially all I did. Did you guys do anything special?
Yeah, actually. So starting on May 1st, I watched episode 1.
Okay.
And then on May 2nd, I watched episode 2 and 3. Rogue One on Thursday. And then I watched A New Hope last night. My niece watched it for the first time.
Aww.
That's a cool moment, right?
Yeah.
Did she like it?
Yes.
Is that
How
like
old
a
is your
proud
niece?
uncle
She's
moment for
8
you?
now.
8.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, like your point, you become the cool uncle.
Yeah.
So, and my plan is I'm going to watch Empire tomorrow afternoon. Basically continue down the line with the movies.
Obviously, if you're watching or listening right now, you have no idea when tomorrow actually is, and that's okay because that's okay.
It's more exciting than I did. I started watching the new season of Forces of Destiny, which we'll talk about later. And
You chose that over finishing Rebels?
I should have watched episode 2, Attack of the Clones again.
Man, that says so much. Really excited to be with you for this episode, and we have a lot ahead of us. We're going to be talking about box office predictions for Solo, a Star Wars movie, because we know the tracking is out. We also are going to go to some symphony on Mon Cala and the comic books, and then we have a really great Fan Comlink segment for you planned out. And staying on target, what is our favorite starship in the original trilogy? This is courtesy of Jesse. Jesse was officially our winner last week.
Really?
With staying on target. He was overwhelmingly voted number 1. It's so painful for me to say that because I thought the blaster cannon was going to be awesome.
Where's my cookie?
You're not getting the cookie. You got to pick the topic segment, so you win there. This week we're giving away another bundle of books, so be sure you check us out for Pages, Pixels, and Pieces coming up later in the show. But let's go ahead and dive into Real Talk. Real Talk, the segment where if it's on the screen and it's Star Wars related, we're talking about it in the segment. And David, what's our first topic?
So we're talking about Han Solo, go figure. But this is actually some good news today. Deadline, who does a lot of canvassing and statistics for movies, they're projecting that Solo could be, with its Memorial Day release, expected to bring in $170 million.
That's ridiculous.
From Friday to Memorial Day Monday, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's not as big as like Rogue One premiered with, but still, for as little as we've heard about this movie in the last couple months from a promotion-wise, that's pretty stellar. That could be a record setter, it says here from Deadline. 2007's Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End did 153. Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull did 151.
Started on that one.
Yeah, I was good with that one until they started swinging from the trees at the end. But
Yep.
But basically, they're saying that people are wanting to go out and watch this movie.
What I think is so fun about the Star Wars franchise in general is the fact that you get on these conversations of, if it doesn't break $200 million opening weekend, it's like a failure. Like in this new Disney era, if the movie doesn't break $1 billion, it's going to be a letdown. But if any other movie franchise or studio got to find out that their movie was tracking to make $170 million in its opening weekend, they would be losing their minds with excitement. It just kind of shows you, I think it shows us two things. One, just the scale of this movie, because like David pointed out, the promotion hasn't been there for Star Wars except for like the last month and a half. That's when Disney really kicked into gear with the teaser trailer, the full trailer, and all these TV spots. Denny's is doing a huge promotion right now with their menu. So it's really exploded in the last 6 weeks. I think the second thing it really is a testament to is just how large this fan base is, and overall how many fans are still excited about Star Wars, excited for a new movie, to be getting new content. We talk about some controversy surrounding Last Jedi, the divisiveness, but overall this fandom is still very loyal to its brand.
And I think they probably made a good move, because I don't know if you saw it before Infinity War, but they did have the newest trailer out there, at least here in the Tri-States. I talked to a buddy of mine in Denver, and he said they had the old trailer, but if Marvel's, if Disney's trying to put this with the Marvel movie, I mean, that's probably really good promotion, since everybody's going to see this Infinity War. So maybe they made the right choices with their marketing after all, and, we should probably apologize for bashing them for the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months.
I haven't been bashing.
I
You
have.
all
I
were
have.
bashing.
Yep.
I was very confident in Ron Howard. Jesse, you hear the news. It's tracking towards $170 million for that opening weekend. We obviously don't know how much this movie cost initially, how much the reshoots will cost. We imagine this is going to have to make a big chunk of change for this project to break even and make money. $107 million starting out, that's going to help.
Yeah, I mean, I already bought my ticket and everything. That was the one thing it was kind of weird because tickets weren't supposed to go on sale until the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get mine at like 10:30 Thursday night.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. So I'm excited about it. And I mean, you know that I've struggled with this, especially with all the the drama surrounding this film and everything. So I've kind of it's turned around a little bit. Ron Howard has actually just through his own ways actually got me pumped, and the trailers have done enough to get me excited for this movie. So
I had a real fun interview on Good Morning America recently. Ron Howard came on there, was talking with Michael Strahan, and I wish they would have given him anybody else to interview. I think Michael does a nice job, but I think there needed to be somebody who is a little bit more either knowledgeable or passionate about the franchise, because I think that Ron was having to work real hard trying to kind of guide the conversation, but it's just really great for me to hear Ron Howard talk about the character and where the character is at when we first meet him in this movie. And obviously, we're trying to get this character to evolve to the point where we meet him in the cantina in A New Hope. And I could listen to Ron Howard talk about Star Wars the entire time. And he also recently talked, I think we'll get into this in the next topic, but talking about his experience with George coming on set early on. And it's really cool because he was America's kid in doing the Andy Griffith Show. Then he was so relatable for Happy Days and what he was doing with American Graffiti, and now he kind of comes in and he's like a dad. Like, he brings warmth and confidence into the topic. So all of that, I think, are factors into making this a $170 million projected opening weekend, and at least 25 of those dollars will be coming from this set. So that's pretty good. What's up next?
Well, speaking of the Star Wars show, where Ron Howard was on, did a pretty decent interview with those guys. Star Wars show obviously is based out of Lucasfilm, and how often do they do this? David?
It's every
Weekly?
Thursday.
Every Thursday.
They do great work over there, and it just keeps getting better.
They're fun. Their hosts are enjoyable to listen to. This one had a little bit of a little pantomime with Chewie building a Lego Millennium Falcon and then dropping and shattering it, which is a little heartbreaking.
It's happened to me before.
Especially
I could relate.
after I just finished my Krennic shuttle, so I can't imagine dropping this and having to deal with it. But there's some also pretty cool stuff too. He dropped a little 2 or 3 minute trailer where he does like an Arrested Development style narration of the original trilogy.
Yep.
Were you guys a fan of that show at all?
I didn't actually watch it.
Yeah,
but it was
I
kind of
haven't
cool.
seen it.
I didn't get the joke until after I watched it, and I did the research that I didn't know he narrated that series. So that was really enjoyable for me. I just like the sit down interview with he did with Andy Gutierrez. I thought that was the best part.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part of that one?
I think it's talking about for me, it was him talking about his fandom and telling you about the journey, and especially how he was talking about Chewie and how this is going to be a standout movie for him, and how the fact that he and Han don't like each other initially, and to see how that relationship progresses. But it's kind of what I alluded to on the last topic, is the fact just hearing about Ron expand about how he's taking this movie, and he is not doing this big episodic film. He knows that he's doing he's taking a peek into a very small sliver of the Star Wars galaxy on the Star Wars timeline, and he's taking you on a semi-romantic Western, buddy cop kind of movie. And to me, that's really exciting to know that, you just hearing a veteran director like him, he knows exactly where this product is, and I think it really shows when you're seeing the trailers, the TV spots. Now you're hearing Alden Ehrenreich talk with the media. Everyone just seems very confident about this movie, the story that it tells, and how it tells it. So I'm really excited to get in the theater and see a Ron Howard directed movie, because he does have that styling with his shooting. I mean, you see in a lot of his movies. I mean, the guy did Splash. I mean, that's my favorite movie that he did. So I really enjoyed the interview overall, but really just the awareness that he has about the role that movie will play and what that will do for fans next time they go and see A New Hope. Because I think this movie is really going to change. You're going to have a lot more knowledge going into that first scene in A New Hope, so it's going to be pretty good. Jesse?
From that interview, what he just the humbleness. There's a lot of humility there about it. he mentioned, George coming onto the set and everything, and it was almost like
On day one,
Yeah,
too,
and it
like
was just
his
like-
first day, there's George Lucas ready to greet Ron Howard. Good morning. Here's your coffee. Don't screw up my franchise.
and it wasn't really like that. Like, from what I got the picture, it was just more of him just saying hello kind of thing, and it was more like Ron, like, hey, do you have any pointers? George ended up giving a little bit of advice on apparently the
like the
onset-
mannerisms or something.
yeah, and everything. And I thought that was really cool.
Apparently, there's some joke that's some like physical humor that's in this movie that it was George's idea,
yeah.
which is funny to me. It's ironic because how many times have people griped about the humor in Star Wars that George wrote? I think it's great.
It's kind of an interesting thing too, because right now, I mean, we've talked a lot about how disgruntled fans are concerning, The Last Jedi and the direction that the films have been lately, and everybody complained about the prequel films and that George, dropped the ball on that, and now everybody's like, oh, that's so far from George's vision and everything, and it's just like there's so many people still bashing even this movie before it's even come out, and it's just like,
I'm
well,
one of them.
and it's just kind of like.
Yep.
I mean, you might be, but again, $170 million tracking. Some people out there like
It's
it.
one of those things where the maker. I mean, we wouldn't have this franchise without George Lucas.
I
So-
saw you tweet the other day about the maker.
Yeah, I refer to George as
As the maker.
kind of a it's kind of a line from episode 1, or actually episode 2 when C-3PO sees Anakin
Again.
again.
Oh, I thought it was episode 4 where he gets into the bath and thank the maker.
He
that
says
the-
it too in that too. Yeah,
He says it a lot. It's a recurring
Yeah,
line.
So, but I refer to George as the maker. It's just kind of my nickname for him. But
You got anything else on it, Dave?
I just really enjoyed the fact that Ron Howard sat there and told us in a very nice way that this was a hard movie to make because you're taking the harmony of the universe plus the technical aspect of the visual effects plus all of the characters, and how he just has to take all of that and squish it together, which is not something a lot of directors have to deal with on the movie set.
Which is interesting because you would think that any story would have those complexities to it, but apparently
so.
Star Wars has just so many more layers.
But he said his ultimate goal was to take people on an adventure, and I expect that's what we get from him.
The man is giving us the Millennium Falcon doing a barrel roll to take out a TIE fighter. I am so jacked for this. Just based on the footage,
no wonder the Falcon looks like a hunk of junk.
Oh
That's
my
how
gosh.
Han treats it.
I'm so excited. Well, and it kind of reminds me, there's the short that they released recently with Donald Glover giving you a tour of the Millennium Falcon, and it's pretty stellar. He takes you to the Cape Room. It's pretty fun. Just YouTube it.
The Cape Room.
Yeah, he's like, this is my cape for my sister's bar mitzvah, and here's my here's my cape for when I'm just going out and it's cold outside. It's pretty good. If you have
That's
any
funny.
ideas about, if you have any thoughts on the interview that Ron Howard did or any of his appearances recently in the media, how is that affecting your experience as you prepare to go see this movie on May 25th? Because obviously we're getting more excited. I think the optimism that Ron Howard is giving us is a pretty cool thing to experience here on set. So we want to know what you think. Let us know down in the comments below. What's up next?
Gentlemen, hold on to your butts because our next topic is going to bring you to the edge of excitement. We're talking about some new
Hold my
Forces
butts.
of Destiny
Oh,
shorts.
Well,
I don't know why I'm disappointed. I wasn't one that put the show notes together. I knew that was coming.
So, of course, on May the 4th, we had
Yes.
several new episodes drop, and I have to say, I didn't think these were as bad as they're still not good, but I didn't think they were as bad as some of the other ones we've gotten.
I like this second wave, and when I say the second wave, I'm talking about the episodes that we just got, but also the first half of, I guess, season 2 of the Forces of Destiny, because I feel like these are now, it's going from cutesy childlike humor to like little bits that actually kind of serve a greater role.
Do you think they finally realized who their demographic is in this?
I think they're just trying to make it. I don't know. I mean, I was always the mentality that these are for kids. These are not meant for the adults. This is targeting children to make them laugh and like certain Star Wars characters.
I mean, you have to admit that with the second batch, that there has been kind of like a change of gear. I kind of felt like the first set were very much geared for children.
Yeah.
In particular, the one episode dealt with Tor Vizsla, which is Mandalorian culture. So I mean, I'm all over that.
Right.
But the fact is that they're also using. We're starting to see characters from like the Rebels. We've already seen Chopper and Sabine and Hera. with the one mission with the shuttle and supplies, and now we just get Sabine and her brother again for this episode.
Art history.
So we're kind of getting a current, I guess you could say. They're not trying to have a voice actor cover Carrie Fisher's voice kind of thing, like.
Though they are having a voice actor
Yeah,
talk.
well, you know what I mean, though. Like it's
No, I don't.
We're getting current new characters like Sabine and
Right. The
familiar.
The episode from the first wave of the second season with Mark Hamill coming back as Luke Skywalker, that scene on Dagobah with you, I really liked because that kind of expanded that experience. But obviously we're talking about these newer episodes, and David, can you kind of just rattle off what are the new episodes that we got now?
Sure. So our first one's called Chopper and Friends. This is where Chopper gets a couple Ewoks when they're on Endor to help him fix the ghost. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
It's fine. I just think it's interesting to see again a Rebels character on Endor tied to the Battle of Endor, because obviously we now know that Hera survives through post Return of the Jedi. I mean, she's still fighting for the rebellion, and so I think to see Chopper there and interacting with Ewoks, I don't know, it kind of. I mean, it kind of makes you really think, because you never think about that watching Return of the Jedi. You never think about these Rebels characters, and so intertwining it. Some people would say this makes it all seem like too small, like the canon and the storyline is too interwoven. I'm okay with it.
Next one, Monster Misunderstanding. This is where a water monster attacks the docks of Naboo, and for some reason, Queen Amidala decides she's going to get in the middle of that debacle for no reason, and discovers that poachers have been trying to steal the creature's baby. Because, that's something a queen would totally get in the middle of.
Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Nope. I take a pass on it.
If we're saying this is canon, this is garbage. I don't think this is official canon, but if everything is supposed to be interconnected and woven, I don't get it. But maybe they're backtracking from that, and they're not making this true canon.
Well, that's where it's just kind of like some of it is great, and then other parts of it, it's just like, what was that? What did I just watch, kind of thing,
Next one, Jesse will get excited for. We get a couple Mandalorians. We have Sabine and her brother teaching the lesson that defacing art is not good. I presume this means that we're teaching children not to draw on the walls, but they basically go and they talk about an important Mandalorian monument, and they fix it, and then they go back to what they were actually supposed to be doing, which is fighting the Empire. So
cool.
Yeah. My personal favorite is Porgs. This was 2.5 minutes with absolutely zero talking.
Okay.
Did you guys watch this one in its full? Because I know you're not
I
necessarily
did,
a big
but
fan of
I
the
just want you to
Porgs.
talk, because right now you're dressed like a
I
porg.
immediately
just
thought about
excited
chicken
for the
nuggets
Porgs.
while watching
Well,
it.
chicken nuggets, great. So Porg breaks out of the Millennium Falcon, scares Chewie, and he's got some blue wiring. Turns out it's for little baby Porgs, which just made my heart flutter. So Chewie ends up getting some blue moss from a tree, because the Porgs are not strong enough to fly up there, because I guess chicken nuggets can't fly. And he gives them the moss, and they have a hug, and it's adorable. And I want to watch it again right now.
Chewie is totally thinking about future snack time. He's just like, okay, I've got this one grown Porg. I'm going to let these mature a bit.
Do you think this happens before or after he roasts the Porg?
It has to happen after, because this is all out of guilt.
Yep. Perilous pursuit and a dangerous snowspeeder chase across Starkiller Base. Rey and Finn work together to escape relentless snowtroopers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is based off
When
the
did that
deleted scene.
happen?
So
Did
there
it?
was, if you watch The Force Awakens, there's this scene where they're all trying to, they have to get to Han, right? They all have to get to Kylo. And the one scene, Finn has his jacket on, and then when you next see Finn and Rey at that spot where Han dies, Rey's got the jacket on, and there was a speeder chase sequence that was there that JJ cut. It's in the deleted scenes, and I think this is probably just influenced from it. But, it's all right. I think my favorite episode of all these was the one with Luke and Leia.
Traps and Tribulations.
Yeah.
More Ewoks.
More
Very
Ewoks.
Ewok-driven in these 7 episodes.
But I do like the fact that, again, Mark Hamill's back, voicing Luke in this, and it's kind of cool. He throws his lightsaber up to Leia in the tree to slice one of the traps, and for me, that anytime you get Mark Hamill playing back in that era, and I think when Luke is actually Luke, I think Mark Hamill's pretty happy about it.
The last one is Disarming Lesson. This is where Ahsoka and Ezra do a little sparring, and Ahsoka teaches him a lesson.
You know what? I should take it back because this probably is the best one out of all of them because it's kind of cool to see that interaction. And, of course, we now know that Star Wars Resistance is our next animated series, and it's not going to be Ahsoka and Sabine on a journey to find Ezra, which, when you really think about it, it makes sense that this series would really jump and it wouldn't be like directly after Rebels. But always, it's always great to have Ashley Eckstein back voicing Ahsoka and seeing those interact. I just think a lot of my enjoyment from those characters, specifically from Rebels, is all based on the animation. And so, like, I obviously, I really enjoyed the animation we got with Rebels going 3D for the most part. But, that's my only gripe with this overall is I just don't like the animation style. But as far as seeing those two characters interact again is pretty enjoyable. And, of course, Jesse and I appreciate it more than David because we finished Rebels.
Thanks. Yep.
No, it's okay.
Yep. Noted.
What's wrong with throwing you under the bus? Just once.
That's fine.
Just once an episode.
I don't know. I kind of did it earlier, so twice.
Is there anything that we really need to like? I feel like we've hit all the episodes.
Yeah.
We've kind of summarized them all.
They're not as bad as the last crop of them, and some of them are enjoyable.
If
like
you have young
Baby
children,
Porgs.
this is a great 20 minutes to spend with the kids. Fair enough. What's the next topic?
We're done with Real Talk.
Are we done with Real
We
Talk?
are done with Real
Real
Talk.
Talk, the segment where if it's on the screen and it's Star Wars, we're talking about it?
Yep.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, so the next topic would have to be Real Talk, which...
No,
no, we just finished Real Talk.
Pages, Pixels,
Pages,
Pieces.
Pieces. Do you want to start off with reading our sponsor slag?
Sure, this segment is brought to you by the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. We're proud to have our local comic book shop as our official sponsor. Comics, collectibles, toys, Magic the Gathering, and board games. The Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981.
My computer died, so I have no way of reading the show notes. So then I told David 5 minutes before we started recording, hey, bud,
Okay.
you're kind of helming things, and I think you're doing a great job, and I appreciate you reading that. And
Star Wars 47.
oh, he wants to dive right into it. He's
I
not
want
wasting
to
any
dive
time.
right into this because I want to get through Star Wars 47 so we can talk about Star Wars Tag and Bink, the other comic that came out this week.
Okay, so Star Wars 47 is we're still on Mon Cala, and the Rebel Alliance. It's weird because the Rebel Alliance is trying to get the calamari to join the effort. But when we dive into this episode, they're in this...
Nice pun.
Right? They're in this opera scene. I mean, they're watching this performance, which I have to think this is the same performance that, maybe not the exact same performance, but it's the same style of entertainment that we see in Return of the Jedi, or I'm sorry, Revenge of the Sith. During the tale of
Darth
Plagueis,
the Wise.
they're watching a Mon Calamari ballet. I'm stumbling all over my words. Opera.
Is what they refer to it in this comic.
And it's the same thing. They're in the water bubble and they're dancing all around. And no, I think it was cool, but it was definitely a curveball because the last two issues, it's been war, it's been battle, it's about confrontation, it's about challenging Leia, who she is as a leader and why she's in the rebellion. And this it was kind of like an episode to take a deep breath in. I don't know, David, Jesse, what did you guys think?
So one thing I thought it was really okay. So in the last Darth Vader that we talked about, Vader, because they're doing a similar thing where they're on Mon Cala too.
Yeah, there's like a 20 years of separate, 10 years of
Give or
separation.
take.
Yeah.
So Vader is underwater. He just gotten knocked down, and he lights his lightsaber underwater, and you get this really awesome red glow. Luke does that in this episode with his blue lightsaber. So our team of favorite people, our Leia, our Han, our Chewie, they have the Moff who's overseeing this area captive on their shuttle, and they're trying to go save King Lee Char, and they're being chased by a great big fish, and it's following the lights. So they shut off the lights. Luke swims out there, ignites his lightsaber, and tries to drag it away, and has to get saved by Chewie, who then, once they're all back on the ship, shakes off like a dog and gets Leia all wet, and Han tries to apologize, but Leia's not taking any of his sass.
I really like the David summarized segments we do now. This is really great.
So-
I like how you break it down.
So they finally get there, and they're like, well, we're here to save Lee Char. And the Moff's like, well, funny you should say that because he's only alive because he's on this ventilator that we put him on.
Which I wonder if that's going to tie to Darth Vader 16 that comes out next week, because Lee Char is young and healthy in that time period. So again, that Darth Vader run is happening right after Revenge of the Sith. Vader is attacking Mon Cala, trying to find this Jedi bar that's still alive. And Lee Char is being hunted down by the Inquisitors and Vader. And so then you're reading, you're jumping 10, 15 years into the future with the main Star Wars run right now, and you see this last panel where Lee Char is alive and on this breathing apparatus, which excites me because I liked that character from Clone Wars. That's where the character began, and you're getting to see the character evolve, and knowing that character also kind of makes it to, a New Hope era, Empire era I think is pretty cool. I don't know. Do you have any takeaways from this history?
That right now it's kind of nice. You pointed out you've got Darth Vader, which they're on the same location, as this Star Wars run. So it's kind of nice. So you get kind of that past.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning the the history of why the Mon Calamari are kind of like, I don't know if we want to be a part of your rebellion anymore, kind of thing. So it's kind of nice. You kind of get both sides of the coin.
I'm really enjoying how they are doing this.
Yeah.
It's not a mirror. I guess it kind of is a mirror, but the way the storylines are kind of interweaving in a way is pretty fantastic. If you like the Star Wars main line, pick this up. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. But I think everyone here wants to talk about Tad and Bink because Tag and Bink was an exciting. Do we know? We're all aware that Tag and Bink are from the Legends now, but they were from the expanded universe, Dark Horse creation. They're kind of like an R2 C3PO where you get to see the Star Wars story play out through their eyes, like you're watching as them. But they get into antics, and they seem to be in everyone's favorite moments of Star Wars. And so now we get Tag and Bink released here this week, and David, you're all over this. You love it.
I am. So the opening crawl that they have, the first page of a lot of Star Wars comics, they have the traditional yellow text on the scene, and I love it. It starts out episode 4.1, Tag and Bink are dead. It's a period of great strife and turmoil at Dark Horse Comics. With episode 2 still months away, editors struggle to meet the demand for new Star Wars comics brought on by a ravenous and unforgiving fan base. It just goes on to just kind of make fun of itself before it gets into the actual story. And then they pretty well go episode by episode and show how these two characters were first part of Tantive 4, and then they decided to not die and put on a stormtrooper outfit, and they just happened to find themselves in the midst of everything.
Yeah, every catastrophe in the original trilogy. I really think it's well done, and from my understanding, this is bringing all those stories from the Dark Horse era back and just putting them in one location for the fans to enjoy. And I think even on the cover, it has the banner Legends on the bottom. I could be mistaken.
Yes, it does.
I'm pretty sure it says it on the bottom. So, really, I didn't know a whole lot about these characters until I read the comic and then I did a little research afterwards. But a lot of really great moments because, like we said, they go through A New Hope, they go through Empire, they go through Return of the Jedi. There's even like a prequel issue in there as well. But it's like a 40-page book.
But they also do things unknowingly that help the Empire. Like they steal the shuttle Tidarium. Off the Death Star and take it to Tantive 4, and they put on Chewbacca's medal because they've already got that made. But just things that you wouldn't think about. I don't know. I thought it was cool.
My favorite moment, I think, is getting. My favorite moment was the Return of the Jedi moment where they're the Red Guards. We were talking about how they were the Imperial Guards, and they make the whole joke about how Emperor tells these two guards, leave us. And so they walk behind the elevator, and they're expecting another elevator, and they're just they're there, and the dialogue plays out to where, well, we can't go back out there. That would be embarrassing. And then
we'll look stupid.
The events play out, and they die in the explosion of the Death Star 2. I thought that was a really good moment. They seem to have an issue with C-3PO and R2, C-3PO mainly. They were happy to see him disintegrated on Cloud City. I don't know. There's just a lot of. It's a fun parody of the sequel. There were some things that I wasn't really into. It kind of cheapens the character of Boba Fett. There's a couple run-ins there that I don't think you were a big fan of.
Definitely. I mean, obviously on the cover, it's big gold, bar. It says Legends and everything. So this is definitely kind of a parody, series. It was still enjoyable, but it's like, oh, come on,
But this is what people read. I mean, this came out, I think, in the 90s. I think it was late 90s, early 2000s.
It must have been early 2000s.
Early, because they mention about Clone Wars.
And at the same time, just kind of how this story was being told. It's just you mentioned they keep getting into all the major moments or anything, and one in particular, the first Death Star, Obi-Wan uses the Force to kind of make a noise, and the two stormtroopers, well, what's that? Well, that's Tag and Bink, in this comic kind of thing, and moments like that, it kind of But as you mentioned, this is kind of being told from their perspective, and it kind of reminded me of from a certain point of view.
Yeah,
A
I can
little
see that.
bit, because some of those small reads were actually had a little bit of humor, about them. But
And we know Tag and Bink are going to make an appearance in the Solo movie. We got that confirmed from John Kasdan, so that's exciting to see.
There's even a little cameo in here of Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah, I like all the pop culture references. You get what was the horse logo? Wasn't the Dark Horse logo on the Death Star at one point?
Up with the lights.
You got who were in Return of the Jedi? There were those two. Was it Megatron in the march along with?
Oh no,
Palpatine?
they had some Cylons in there.
Cylons were in there.
Cylon robots and everything.
There's a lot of really great pop culture references in there. So I can't recommend it enough. There's like 4 main issues, and then there were a couple of side stories at the end that I didn't get through.
It's a long read, though. I mean,
It's a lot of content.
Yeah,
It is worth it, I think. I mean, here's a little panel I'm looking at right now where it's got like a midichlorian counter, and it's got John Edward as the lowest, who's a medium, a Vegas magician, an actual medium, a Jedi, and then the chosen one, and a little arrow pointing to where he is. Just little things.
Pretty cool, cool. So now we want to remind you that thanks to our sponsors, our lone sponsor, our greatest sponsor ever, the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri, we are going to probably give away this week's worth of comics. So you get Star Wars 47 and you get Tag and Bink, and all you have to do is be a subscriber of our channel and comment down below. And I want us to do our hashtag this week, and I think it should be related to Tag and Bink. And I'm trying to think of the best phrase to use. And I'm thinking what we do is I thought there was like a tagline that they kept saying like repeatedly with Boba Fett. I thought there was like a line that blew their cover at one point, but I have forgotten that. So we won't do that anymore because we don't want to scramble. Or unless you have it, David.
No, I'm looking.
Oh,
It's like a 40-page thing. I'm scrolling.
I know. It's like really in depth. You know what we should do though? Man, I don't know. Do you have any ideas? I was
gonna suggest, since because of our staying on target topic, it's a trap.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I think it's an easy phrase to
It's a trap.
remember.
Hashtag it's a trap.
Hashtag it's a trap.
Hashtag it's a trap. So that's all you got to do. You like how we figured that out on the show? Just so you know, we've had an outrageously busy weekend. This episode this week almost didn't happen, but we pulled it together, and now we have it. Episode 37 is here. And you're going to win free comic books. So, hashtag it's a trap down in the comments below. Let us know your favorite comic book right now or favorite moment of the show. And make sure you enter that contest for Star Wars 47 and that Tag and Bink special edition comic book. That's going to do it for Pages, Pixels, and Pieces. Again, thanking our sponsor, the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981. No Stash or Blast this week on the episode. Instead, we're going to dive right in to Fan Comlink, right?
Yep. So our question this week comes from Emperor Palpatine, our friend at Chev Palpy. So I don't know what this means, so I'm probably not going to have an answer. So I'll just let you guys go with it. I'm sure it's something Rebels related. Mm-hmm. What if Darth Sidious was successful in controlling the world between worlds?
All right. So we obviously, if you follow the Star Wars Rebel series in Season 4, we know that there's this episode where they learn that there's a place in time that exists, which has been called the world between worlds, where time is happening simultaneously, and it's linked together with these bridges and portals, and Ezra is able to enter there, and that's ultimately how Ahsoka is saved. I mean, spoilers. I mean, at this point, if you don't know, I mean, it's kind of your own
just
fault.
ruined it for David.
It's
look at him.
We're gonna watch. It's fine. I'm gonna buy him pizza and beer, and it's gonna be fine. It's a cool concept. Not everyone's favorite, but it was still pretty cool. But there's this moment where the Emperor shows, and the Emperor's trying to infiltrate this place, and it almost happens. And so I think that's the inspiration for this question, because obviously the idea is if you can enter and control this world between worlds, you can weave through time. You can kind of jump, time and alter reality. So what if? Is that the question? What if the Emperor was able to control it?
Yes, it's what if Darth Sidious was successful in controlling the world between worlds? That is the question.
Well, then he probably just goes back, kills all the Jedi, and then runs the galaxy forever and ever, right? I mean, that, and then the franchise is over. That's essentially what it would mean.
Well, like it is an interesting question, but I guess what it comes down to is how would he be able to use it? I mean, like you actually have to enter this timeline, and you have to actually go through these different gateways to basically impact those different points in time.
So wouldn't he just do that? Like, why wouldn't he just like go into the thing and then he'd jump into a portal that would take him back to like the I don't know, take him back to Revenge of the Sith era and save Anakin from burning, against Obi-Wan, and then they'd kill Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then then they'd probably somehow find out that there were twins, and then they'd probably take the twins and train them to be Sith. I mean, I think that's how it would happen, is he would use it as a tool to go and change everything so his plan would come to fruition and he won't fail.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff to view there. I mean, I kind of got the impression that somehow or another what like Ezra was seeing was because of some of his memories. He was partially there for the watch Ahsoka fight Vader and everything, and that was something that impacted him, when that door closes and everything. He tries to save Kanan and everything. So these were important memories or moments that were important to Ezra. So
I think it's a really interesting take on it. And really that whole thing World Between Worlds hasn't really been defined, how it works, how it operates. And I think that's a really interesting theory that you're discussing. Like, are you seeing moments that you're directly connected with? I kind of took it as he was hearing a familiar moment play out, and so he was led to it.
So it's like one of those, like, potentially, you mentioned, like, I mean, could Palpatine have prevented his, being deformed from, his fight with Mace? Or, on some level, would he be able to maybe prevent Anakin from becoming so, wounded and burned to, crispy critter kind of thing.
It's definitely really interesting.
Definitely an interesting thing to think of, but I think there's limitations there that just haven't been.
But to answer your question, Sheev, I'm pretty sure that if he did control the World Between Worlds, he would just change all the things that went against him to make sure his plan always carried out to fruition. So thanks for the question, and Sheev Palpy, one of our Patreon supporters, so always thankful for his support. And your shirt and pin should be shipping out in the very near future. Our Han Shot First T-shirts came in over the weekend, and so did our pins. So those are being sent out, and I want to get David back in the conversation. So let's go ahead and jump in and staying on target.
Sure. So today our topic of conversation is the best original trilogy starship.
Well, now, David, you have done a great job of hosting the episode, so you get to decide. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go last? Who do you want to go first?
I'll go in the middle. That way I'm forgettable since I'm not very good at this segment.
I'll be gutsy as last week's winner with my DC-17 blaster pistol.
Yeah, you're going to bring about that.
You're going to start,
Which
Jesse?
also, I'm a little
kick us
annoyed.
off.
I'm a little annoyed, though, because someone told me that I picked the blaster cannon that was made popular by the clones, and someone told me that shouldn't count because it's a blaster cannon. And I'm like, well, why? The argument was it's not a blaster. It has blaster in the not. How does that work against? Yeah. How does that? But no, you got the overwhelming love. Go ahead. Go start.
Cool. Jesse, go.
All right. Well, I went with the TIE Interceptor.
That's a good pick. Dang it, that's a good pick.
It is a good pick. The reasoning for it, and yes, in the movies, we only see it in Return of the Jedi, but as we know from other different points, it's featured in Rebels. You do see it quite a bit throughout, in the books and everything. It's mentioned. This was a very fast starfighter. It had 4 laser cannons on each point of its solar panel, the points on the solar panel wings. And only the elitist of pilots were given a TIE Interceptor. So, I mean, like, you got the grunts and the regular TIE fighters. Okay, the guys in the TIE Interceptors, these were, like, Imperial aces. The best of the best. These things were designed to run down Rebel fighters. They were super fast. Granted, some downsides. No hyperdrive, no shields. But, I think overall, a lot of firepower, a lot of, definitely for a skilled pilot, you can do some damage.
All right, so it sounds like that's his argument right there. And do you want to go into retort, or you want to just go ahead and do your ship pick? And then
I can do that. Either
All right,
way.
so let's go ahead and you give yours, and then I'll give mine, and then we'll tear each other apart.
Okay. So cool. So I really, really wanted to pick the cloud car for this segment.
You're such a fool. That's such a terrible idea.
And I couldn't think of any good reason why I should do that besides the fact that I thought it'd be kind of fun. So instead, I picked the Carillion YT-1300 light freighter, better known as the Millennium Falcon. Is the one that we see, of course, on screen. So this ship is iconic. It might be arguably the best iconic starfighter in all of sci-fi. People who aren't even part of the franchise really know what this ship looks like. It's made to transport goods, but it also has a livability factor that we don't see on most of our starfighters. It's big enough that you can train a Jedi, you can play board games, and it's even got this lovely little scanner sensor-proof smuggling compartment just in case you need to hide something. At least 4 bodies, which is bigger than my trunk space. Additionally, it's the fastest ship that we see in the galaxy. It's able to outrun Star Destroyers on its own. Also, there's some modifications to the Millennium Falcon, and it can do the Kessel Run pretty damn quick. It's nearly twice as fast as most other ships that we see in the galaxy, which is pretty cool. And the ship is so renowned that, according to some guy I've never heard of in the legends, Ralcius Paldora, after the Battle of Endor, the ship is so renowned that 22 out of every 300 stormtroopers know this ship by name. I mean, let's be honest, the ship did help destroy one Death Star, and it did kind of shoot the killing blow that blew up a second Death Star that was 4 times as big as the first, and therefore 4 times as impressive. So I went with the Carillion YT-1300, a light freighter.
David, if David doesn't win this, I'm already calling BS, because that was honestly, you took a ship that we should have taken off the table at the very beginning of this conversation.
Yep.
We should not have allowed you to do that. And then you actually delivered a legitimate argument for it, so congratulations.
Yeah, eat that.
I'm going to go ahead and say the Executor Starfighter. I have always loved this ship since the very first time I saw Empire Strikes Back. This thing comes in at 19,000 meters long. 5,000 turbo blasters are on the surface of this thing. And what I love about it so much, it has the surface. What are you laughing so much about this?
I just hope you're ready for the ripping I'm going to give you.
Are you just... You're going to give me one rip and what? Just because maybe we don't have a rear view mirror that allows us to see a Millennium Falcon hang on in the back? The truth of the matter is, your ship and your ship, well, maybe not your ship, but your ship for sure I can destroy the shit out of with this destroyer.
Yeah.
And so I just, or let me start that over because I just swore. God damn it. All right. Motherfucker. All right, so I picked the Executor class Star Destroyer, and Jesse's having a real good time already because he knows how he's going to beat me with it. Because the Millennium Falcon can hang out on the back of the command center. I don't care. Okay, 19,000 meters long.
That actually wasn't on my list.
No, okay. I'm giving you fodder.
Well, it's now on my list.
But I still insist that 5,000 turbo blasters on this thing. I got all these TIE fighters that live inside my ship. I've got Vader that can command it. I know that I'm going to lose this already, so I guess size doesn't really matter when it comes to starships in the galaxy. I really thought. See, this is what's wrong. I'm taking my 2 minutes to say I shouldn't have let you had the Millennium Falcon because you just get to trump me. So I'm done. This has not been my week. I'm sorry.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
You've
go
got
ahead.
30 more seconds.
No,
David,
I don't
if you'd
care
like
at
to
this
just
point.
Sit here for a moment.
I picked the wrong ship.
You want me to rip him first?
I don't have a whole lot to rip them on. So
Okay, so I'm going to totally rip you apart on this.
You know, you keep saying how you're going to rip me, but you might as well just rip me, honestly.
Okay, so I wasn't going to mention the Falcon parking on the side of the back side of the bridge, but, there's that. Number 2.
A plot hole.
This ship, was taken down by a single A-wing straight through the bridge, and then it was crashed.
Well, that was after its shields were destroyed, so don't act like they're... So that's kind of BS. You got to keep in mind that the shields were taken down. So any direct blow would take any ship
So
down.
anyway, the shields get knocked out
Your point doesn't
relatively
count.
easily.
Your point doesn't count anymore. We just
then the
disproved your
A-wing,
point.
kamikazes through it, and then it
you
crashes into the second Death Star.
Your point got disqualified. I need a new point because I just disqualified it.
I also think you tend to choose things that are really large, and I think you might be trying to compensate.
a big gun, a big
We've
ship.
had the Z6 blaster cannon, a very large blaster cannon. Now we have one of the
Jesse,
largest starships.
you're not supposed to be attacking my character, and keep your back. Don't turn your back to the viewer, please. Thank you.
Sorry, viewers.
Glad you have appropriate conduct. Let's go to David now because he actually knows how to face and address a camera.
I just think my ship's better than yours, so...
You okay? All right, so there we go. That's going to do it for Staying on Target. That turned out to be a not eventful round. I should have picked a better ship. It's been a really long day. The fact that we're doing an episode right now is beyond me.
That we survived.
But let us know who you think had the best argument. If David does not win this week, there is something terribly, terribly wrong. That's going to do it for episode 37, so be sure you comment down below. You got to let us know, #GetTheTrap, so you enter our comic book contest, and you also need to let us know who won this week's Staying on Target. And again, if it's not David, I just don't know how you don't pick David. It's okay. I forfeit to you. Gentlemen, anything else we need to talk about before we wrap this one up?
I don't think so.
I've got nothing.
Nothing. Well, I hope you had a very happy May the 4th. It's always kind of weird because I'm like, happy May the 4th to you, and then it's like, it's not really a holiday. I mean, it is a holiday.
It should be a holiday.
It should be.
It should be. It should be. But
A
hopefully,
bank holiday, get off work for it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
if you got any goodies, maybe you watched the movies, or maybe you got some new merch, you had a favorite T-shirt on the day, let us know. John Boffman went out on Twitter, and he sent us a tweet of him watching Return of the Jedi I think he was with himself and I think a dog. Does he have a dog? Does John have a dog?
I think he has a dog.
He might have been with
He
his
used to
dog.
have chickens. I don't think they have chickens anymore.
It might have been with his chicken. I think John was cuddled up to a chicken watching Return of the Jedi. But thank you so much for joining us. And as always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and of course here on YouTube. Tell your friends about us. And we'll see you next week, episode 38. I'm sure it'll be a blast. See you soon. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You can watch other videos just like this one right now by checking out these videos on your screen. And by the way, thanks for checking out Beyond the Blast Doors.